Okay, so this week we are going to talk apps and AAC and features. Okay, it is not a menu. We're going to have a big discussion. There's a lot we have to cover. So if you open the slideshow, there isn't much to it because most of what I'm doing is off the iPad. So we're going to actually look at apps and play with apps and look at features and kind of discuss what, why, when, where. Okay? So like I said, there's not too much to it, but it'll make more sense as we go. Anybody still looking for the app or for the link? Yes. Okay. I'll give you a minute. So as we go into more of, today we're really going to look at apps and kind of pull them apart, see why, where, and what. We may not cover everything today, so if you have other questions or you need us to dive deeper into some of the things, that can be covered next week and the following week as well. So next week is implementation, what this looks like in your classroom and in your therapy room. How it looks in practice, how does this work? I just don't get it. And then the week after that is 2 weeks after that. We don't meet on the 28th. The 5th is other devices besides iPad and apps. Okay, so I'm mostly going to be presenting today. Tammy hurt her knee. Yeah, so we want her to sit as much as she can today, but she will likely interject here and there, I suspect. Yeah, so we're going to really dive into the apps, and most of them you're familiar with, but I want you to know some of the features that they have because it's pretty fascinating once you really dive into it, what differences they all have. However, a similarity that we want them all to have is core language. What is core language? We talked a little bit, I think, about it last week, but it is the words that make up 80% of what we say. It's words like I, you, he, she, it, up, down, go, stop, eat, drink, the basics. Those basic words that you can combine a bunch of different ways to say a bunch of different things. Then we have our personal core, which is like your family, your friends, your main things that matter to you. And then we have fringe, which is like academic vocabulary and things like that, holiday vocabulary, things that are just on the fringe of communication that are used sometimes but not very frequently. So core words are the most frequently used words. Personal core are the core type words that you use most frequently related to your personal conversations, and then fringe words are all the rest. Core language can get you really far. Sometimes it's a little abstract. Sometimes it's not, especially when we're talking about early language development, but it can still take you really far. So we're going to do a little exercise. I pulled up the screenshot of an app. This isn't an app that is commonly used, but it is one that's available and wonderful, and it is all core-based. Besides Joanne, who knows what this is? Go ahead. Lamp Words for Life, right? It's made by Frankie Romick. They use an organizational strategy called semantic compaction. SLPs, semantics are word meanings, right? It's the meaning. Compaction, all squished in, right? So the icons are not necessarily concrete in Lamp Words for Life. They're a little more abstract, so they can cover a bunch of different words. So basically, I always look at this one, do. When you press in Lamp Words for Life, do, it goes into a whole host of other words that are related to anything in that icon. So the first thing is, what do you notice about that icon? Besides that it's a hand and a finger up.
So string around your finger, reminder?
Yes. So string around the finger. Old school, before I was born, people used to tie a string on their finger to remember to do something. So all of the remember words related to, if you wanted to say the word remember, it's under do. See how abstract that can be? But once you learn it, once you've been taught that, that's where you go for the word remember. What else do you notice about that hand? It's in the center. Yep, it is in the center. What else? It has a ring on it. So all the jewelry is under that icon as well. They're reaching, right? Reaching a little. Some of them are like really far-fetched and some are pretty concrete. Look at color. What do you think's under there? Weather and colors. So pretty concrete, right? You do not have to understand all of the nuances, but if you wanted to know them, you can go to the PRC website and find out. It's probably buried deep these days, but there are explanations for the rationale behind the icons. The dog for come. Well, come on, boy, come. So you're always doing that with dogs. That's why that's come. He has a newspaper in his mouth, so it's news. He has a tag on his collar, so it has to do with like anything pet related or with tags, things like that. Under the my, there's a name tag. That's anything personal. Personal vocab goes under there. So personal core is all under my. What else do you notice? Play is dice. Anything play related is under that. All right. So basically, the wanted man. I love this. He's wanted. He's in jail. Nice picture. But it's not just parts of a hand, like in PCS symbols. It's just two hands cut off at the arm. So this might be a better representation for some kids than that. Anyway, so this my point with this one is it's very abstract, but it's still all core language. What else do you notice about it? Say it louder. It's color-coded. Thank you. It's color-coded. And it's color-coded according to the Fitzgerald key, which is so old school, but it's a standard color-coding scheme. People are yellow. Verbs are green. Descriptors are blue. Social is pink or purple. Objects are orange. That's basically the standard color-coding scheme. And they have color-coded that way. So if you wanted to find a verb, what color? Green. Okay, so in this app, on the home screen, if you have a verb, the root verb is here, and all of the inflections are light green. So you have, so if we had swim, you'd have is swim, swims, is swimming, swam. I don't know if there's an N for that, and to swim. Okay? So if I went to the icon that said, that was swim, and I don't know where it is off the top of my head, this would change to swim, and they would all say, is swimming, to swim, things like that. Okay, so they would change to that. And that's where you'd find all the verbs. Technically, this is where you always find the verbs, no matter what page you're on in LAMP. Okay, that's where the verbs always are. Why is that? Motor planning. See my shirt? I love it when a motor plan comes together. Tammy got them for us. It's from the app Cough Drop. The creator of the Cough Drop app had T-shirts out at one of the conferences. So, yes, we love it when a motor plan comes together. Why is motor planning important? Absolutely. Where does motor planning come into play with you guys? You have devices that you already have motor plans for, like what? Phones. Your phone. You know where to find Facebook and Snapchat on your phone pretty quickly, right? But sometimes I don't know if it happens to you. It happens to me frequently. If you fall asleep and then you wake up and they're jiggling and something's moved around, right? Because you touched it and held on it. Things might be deleted. Things moved around, right? Now it's not where it was before. What happens to me? I get a little confused and have to look for it again. Or when you get a new phone and they haven't restored it to your backup, everything's different. So motor planning is much more efficient. It keeps you quicker, lets you find things faster, and you don't have to work so hard at it. Communication should be quick and easy. So we want to make it as quick and easy as we can for the kids so that they can speak as much as possible, as quickly as they can. So motor planning is the key for that, and it's something we're going to talk about through looking at the different apps. The motor planning piece. And you're going to help me not troubleshoot, but kind of think through a set meeting I just came from. It just ended at 12:30. that we're between two apps, and there's features of one that the other one doesn't do, and features of the other one this one doesn't do, and we like both of them, and we don't know which way to go. So you can help me kind of talk through that. We sort of came to a conclusion. We're doing some trials, but I'm not usually in this quandary. Usually I'm leaning toward one or the other. In this case, it's an equal for both, so maybe you could help me troubleshoot that one. It's two of the apps we're talking about today. So, all right, but the first thing we're going to do is actually create sentences using this core, and I gave you this core because it's the most words you have in one spot. There's 84 words. You have to use the word in the word form that you see, okay, because we would be like if this was the only page you got. You have to use what's on here. And they have to be 3 words or more in an utterance. And what I'm going to do is have you open this on your laptop because I'm going to change what's up there. So open it on your laptop or your iPad in the slideshow so you can look and kind of plan ahead for what you're going to say. We're going to see how many phrases we can say, 3 words or longer, without repeating any phrases. Does that make sense? All right, so bear with me while you pull it up. It's Lamp Words for Life is the, and if you don't have it in front of you, look over someone's shoulder who does. And 1 second. Can't see. Column 3. And text. All right. So with no repetitions, it's going to be tricky. So if somebody have a couple backups of what you're going to say, because if somebody said yours, you have to come up with something different. So what I'm going to do is pass my iPad around that has that on it, and you're going to say yours out loud. So kind of start motor planning where it is, so when you get it, you know where it is. It's exactly what you're looking at in front of you. Okay? All right, so start thinking about the things that you can say. I'm going to start here. Okay, so I want you all to listen so you know what's been said ahead of you. And when you receive the iPad, go ahead and do yours. I'm going to type it up here. I hear you. Good. And you can hit the sentence bar at the top if you want to say the whole thing at once, but you don't have to. Before you keep going, try to get a really long one if you can think of it, especially people in the back when you have a little more planning time. Nice. Okay, I want you to hear what she's doing. So, I like to. Read. Nice. I like to read. So again, when you're preparing, plan it out in your motor planning wise so you're ready when the iPad comes. Me too. Nice. That's my girl. Nice. Oh, good one.
So polite.
There's a clear button too at the bottom left. That's right. Near the verbs. Nice. Compliments. Love it. I live there. Joanne, can you turn that one down? Because I can't. I'm trying to type what they have. Nice. I tricked you on this one. It's much deeper than what you have access to. There's lots of other pages, so that's what she was just looking for. I feel good? Is that what you did? Did we have that? Nope. Okay, good. Yep. Oops. Except gold isn't. More work? Okay, good. Good one. That's a good way to describe it without a feeling space, right? Nice. Good, down. Yeah. Nice. You can find something else you sit on. Sit on there? Yeah. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. Before we keep going, may I hold that for 1 sec? All right. What do you notice about it so far? A lot of them start with I. If one of you has something that starts with I, that's fine. But almost all of them start with I. What else? This one's pretty good. It's not like as much I want. It's a lot of I likes and I loves, which is good because that's what we care about. Things we can communicate about. What else?
There's a lot of I want and I need. Well, I want and I need.
No questions, right? Anything else? Yeah, so now that we've gotten warmed up, kind of try to think about other sentence forms or starting with a different word or something like that to see what else we could come up with. But if you have an I sentence, it's okay. No judgment. But go ahead.
Too late.
You are big. Wow, not a compliment, but it's a comment. It's an observation. Nice. Good one. Nice. Really nice. We didn't have that one, right? We are good? Okay. Was that I want help? Do you want help? Thanks. What did you say?
The ing can go on by pressing the ing, but it doesn't work.
Nope. What is it? Oh, that was yours? Yeah. More help, please? No, I don't think we have that. I know, can't. Oh, not on this one. You can't. If your kids don't say a grammatically correct sentence, does it matter? No, not really. Or you go. Would be fine, right? Would you get the gist? Yeah, we're not writing. No, this one doesn't. No. I mean, this setup does not. I was describing that it does, which it does in the full version, but I wanted you to have access to what you're seeing, so you could plan out. Oh, there's so many things you could say. Are you what? I know. Yeah. Yeah, all you have access to is what you see on the screen in front of you, so there's nothing else. Are you good? Thanks. I think it's on the right. I'm not sure. I'm not looking at it. It's there somewhere. So top left. Who sees finished on theirs? Top left. Okay, last row. Hitting the home stretch. What is? That's okay. Good. We have that one? I need sleep. Okay. Tattling? Good. I keep looking at you to see if I type the right thing. I'm like, it's right in front of me.
Please help me.
Nice. Please help me find it. Nice.
It's supposed to be er.
So say that again.
She needs to turn faster.
Do turn fast.
They're taking too long.
All right, we'll leave it fast. I don't think it'll do right? So it didn't. I get the gist, right? Good. Do not talk to me. So good at home. Do you love me? Do not talk to me. What was that one? Nice. Okay, so that was 37 things. Just made from that one screen. Could we go around again? We're not going to. Could we? Absolutely. We could go around again. Could we go around a time after that? Yeah, there's so much language that you can create using this. You can start every one of those sentences pretty much with you, he, she, it, if you have the verb inflections. But even if you don't have the verb inflections, you can still get the gist. Just like she needs to do turn fast. She needs to do turn fast. She needs to go faster. So you get the gist. So the key to core is you can generate what you want to say. And you can combine it in a way that you didn't have feelings, but people were able to say good and bad. And what was the other one? Down. I feel down. So it's another way to describe being sad without having an access to feelings. So first of all, how did it feel to be put on the spot, generate something quick? Even though you had a preview, a little awkward. If you had been using this every day for a week to communicate, and we came back and said, okay, we're going to pass it around, about how much less time would that have taken? At least half of the time. It would have taken about half of the time because you get much quicker with it. Why?
Because you know where everything is, so they're automatically when you do the work.
Right. It's automatically there. The motor plan is there. You would know I. You already know where I is. So you could pick it up and push I because everybody went over it a billion times, right? It's okay because we're talking about us right now. So that's usually our motivator for communicating. It's either something to do with me or stay away from me. So, we go with ourselves because that's what matters to us. And no matter what app we're using with kids, they have to find the power in it. They have to find the power in communication. So a lot of the times we don't start with today is Monday because they don't care. If we could say, no, stop that, don't want it, things like that, that's way more powerful than today's Monday. Or even today's Friday. I mean, that's usually a good thing. But, don't do that, or just stop that, or I need a drink is a little bit quicker and a little more rewarding than today's Friday. Okay? Unless you're going around going, TGIF, woo! That's a little different. But we said a ton of things. They were simple sentences and simple questions. Can you get much more complex? Absolutely. There's lots of words on there, and you can combine those to say a bunch of different things. So that's why access to core is super important. What might be the downside? If that's all you had to communicate, what might be the downside of that, especially when you have beginning communicators?
There's no nouns. Can't say anything specific.
Right. It's hard to say things that are specific, all right? And little kids are pretty concrete. So in my experience, the kids I use something like LAMP with are those kids that have cerebral palsy, that need the motor plan, that rely on the motor plan, and they wouldn't just have access to that one screen. They would have the full access changing, and you're able to modify things, and it can grow with them. Another downside, and these are the features that I really want you to focus on no matter what you're doing with kids with communication, is kids need a way to have access to conversation, language, and literacy. And I will write this up because I didn't write that up right now. Conversation, language, and literacy. Okay? We need to have access to language because language is generative and you can create things that you want to say. So you're not only saying the 9 things that somebody put on this board for me, you can create your own things to say don't want. The mom I just met with was giving an example of what her son did today, and he said, so he's at the single to 2 word level, and he said cheese, and mom said, I'm not giving you cheese for breakfast. So he loves cheese. He would eat cheese 24/7. Said, I'm going to give you something else for breakfast. Do you want eggs or ham or whatever she offered him? And he goes, cheese, mama. And went, cheese, mama, cheese, mama, cheese, mama. Guess what he had for breakfast? So, but that mattered to him. That wasn't pre-programmed in there. He went and found mama and did cheese, mama. Like, please. He didn't have access. He just learned please during snack at school, but it wasn't automatic for him. Mama was. So he's like, I really mean it. I really want cheese, and can I please have it? And she said, of course you can. Definitely you can. So there was definite power in that for him, and it worked for him. So she was also talking, and I digress a little, but it matters when we're talking about features, is she digressed a little and said, we were told to teach him the words he doesn't already have in sign language. So he already has please and sorry and bathroom and things like that. So, and I said, that is awesome. That's awesome. But when you go from preschool into school age, now your communication circle has grown immensely. You have a kindergarten class of 22 kids, and you have a special ed class of 15. So all those friends of those kids, how many of them speak sign language? Not many. Substitute teachers and aides rotate. Do they speak sign language? No. So if he's got to go to the bathroom, he's got that problem again. So I kind of explained that to her a little bit. I said at home, this does still work for him, but now you want to model for him a new way to say that so that he can say it to anybody and anybody can understand him. And he will be successful with that mode no matter who he's talking to. So we went into that a little bit. I said that's totally fine when you are starting, but now his communicative circle has grown tremendously, and we need to give him a tool that's going to work with everybody, not just with his little preschool circle of people that you've said, this means more and this means bathroom. You can't do that to the hundreds of kids in school, so it's a little harder to do that way. All right, so let's dive in and kind of talk a little bit about some features. And actually, I'm going to go back into that slideshow. Hold on. I'm in the slideshow, but I want to go back. Oh, come on. All right. So, and I'm going to put this right in here. Conversation, language, and literacy. Literacy, right. All right, so when we're looking at LAMP, Words for Life, that you have on your screen or had on your screen, does that allow access to generating language? It does, 100%. Okay, does it allow access to literacy when it's set up in the full mode? Yep, how do you know? That button takes you to a keyboard, okay? It actually takes you to the standard layout of keyboard, the QWERTY layout, similar to what you've got. Why is that important?
Because that's what you're going to encounter as a keyboard almost everywhere.
Yep, that's the one you see where you are. So we always start with that one. Some of the preschool ones are set up by ABC order. When is that helpful? It is helpful when? When you're learning to say your ABCs. When else is that helpful? Never, really. So once kids are able, so sometimes they'll have an ABC screen, A, B, C, D, E. So you can say your ABCs in order, and I'll have an access to a keyboard. So that they can type answers and start to type things up. Preschoolers start to do that at some point. They start to type their name. They might play with the letters. We want to give them access to literacy. Okay? That is also why we always have words on pictures. It doesn't matter if they are the lowest level of communicator you have, you should have picture and word. It exposes them to the literacy. Okay? They're going to be big. And the more access you give them when they're little, the better they do when they're big.
You're big.
I'm big. I am big. So, and again, you are preparing them. You are usually the major first step in getting them to be independent communicators. So it's a very important step, and we don't want to skip over important things. So we have language and we have literacy. The other thing is conversation. Quick phrases. I don't like it. I don't want to. So they shouldn't have to say, I don't want to. It takes so long to say that phrase when it's just a quick, I don't want to. Right? So they should have access to ways to say, what's up? How you doing? Whatever little kids say. But like what you guys say. Are you kidding? Phrases that are important to you. You want to be able to hit and say it and be done, right? So does this have the opportunity for that? And of the people that know the program, does it have that option to have quick conversation? Anybody know? It does not. So unless you program in a phrase, it doesn't have it. So it doesn't have it at all. The point of it is so you can generate anything you want to say. Yes, you can. But you cannot say anything quickly unless you program a page of phrases. So we did do that for one of my students. We did. Under he has several phrases of things he wants to say. But even just like if you're in the hallway and you meet someone new, what's your name? He would have to go, what is your name? And it's, not the way we communicate, So yes, he should be able to generate anything he wants to, but he should also be able to quickly say what he wants to say and be done with it, okay? So that is one limitation of LAMP Words for Life. The other one is that it's not so concrete. It's a little bit too abstract for some kids. The reason I say use it with kids with cerebral palsy sometimes is that because of the motor planning, it's awesome for that. And typically they have average cognitive skills. So they can think this way. If those lower functioning students are not so savvy, they're a little more concrete when they're little. They're a lot more concrete when they're little. So we need something than that. Okay, so that's like core. I wanted to show you how important core is because you can say a lot of things. And we said a lot of basic sentences that our kids do say. I want to drink. I like it. I need to sleep. Things like that. Those are things little kids can say. And the things that they can say, even if you weren't planning on them saying it. Don't want to sleep. Not sleep. They could even say not sleep, when they don't want to take a nap in the afternoon. So they have a way to generate their own language if they've been exposed to it. Okay? So that's LAMP. I'm going to show you a couple others, and we're really going to talk features. And then I'm going to tell you, and through this, I will tell you the ones that we tend to lean toward and why. Because they themselves have features that work well for kids with growing language and with adult programming and lots of other things. So there's reasons to choose what we choose. So there's a few different, I switched my picture to fall yesterday. All right. Okay, come on. Okay. There are a few different categories of communication apps. First of all, there are a plethora of apps. I don't even know them all. The ones I know of most of them. I have not used many of them for one reason or another. And then there's some I've used a lot and pretty well versed with. Do you have to know them all? No. Do you have to have an awareness of features that you're looking for a kid, like what they need to do? You need to have an idea of what the kid needs to be able to do, what their motor skills are, and then we can help shape, and you'll learn a lot about what. Okay? Out of a few, we're going to give you a menu of a few to choose from instead of the many, 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 many that are out there. And if you learn of new ones, you can always ask us about them too, because there's new ones popping up all the time. Okay? So, I can't wander with this, I forgot. Okay. So, we have, and I don't know how to do this best, Tammy, because I can't wander. I'm tethered. Okay. We're recording, and it's following me, not the screen. So.
That could be then.
Am I wirelessly doing?
We're going to fix this.
It's untethered here.
No, give me your marker.
Oh.
Is it close enough
Thank
to
you.
it? It'll pick it up.
Thank you. Thanks for the troubleshooting. All right. So we're good. Now it's going to look over there, and I'm going to look here. So, all right. So of the apps so there's different classes of apps. First of all, there's been a huge study done recently, and I haven't read the final research on it, but scene-based communication with early communicators. Are you familiar with the concept at all? Anyone? Scene-based communication. So something like scene speak. If I have a picture of a park, I can touch the slide. And it's not saying a thing. But it's supposed to say, let me go back. So basically, you can program all of these. So this can be a photo of your play area at school, right? And you can touch the table and say, I want to do art. Or you can touch the kitchen and say, I want to play with the kitchen. Okay? So Janice Slade at Penn State has been doing some research on preschool-based communication using scenes, picture scenes. So what's the feature here? Scene-based, right? So thoughts on that? What is the good side of scene-based communication?
It would be quick, but it's not generative.
Correct. So it's super quick, right? What do you want? I can touch the kitchen and say I want the kitchen. So Joanne hit the nail on the head. It's not generative. So I can say that, I get that. But then your job is to help their language grow. So once they're at the kitchen, what then? So you could have a picture of all the dishes and all the things, and then you're programming it to say, let's play with the plates. Let's do this. But you can't say, let's wash the plates. Just, let's play with the plates. Let's do this. You could have wash and plate, but then you're starting to, and then you'd be the one customizing that whole thing. It's probably a really nice start for kids younger than the ones you get. So like birth to 3, those early communicators, a picture of their bedroom, and you could kind of talk. It's sort of like a vocabulary building tool and a communication tool at the same time. You know how little kids walk around and go, what's that? What's that? What's that? Well, they could touch those places on the picture, and it would name them for them, and mom could say, oh, yeah, let's go in your bed. It's time for your nap, things like that. So I think it would be really great for kids that are even younger than 3. But when you're 3, you should really be developing that language. So we definitely want to give them access to more than that. All right? So scene-based communication is a class of apps. They're terrific for their own merit, but it's not helping you build language. Does it give you a quick conversation? It could, depending on what the scene is that you have there. You could have a couple things to say, so it just depends on how you set it up. Does it give access to language? Generative language? Or growing your language? Not so much, unless you set it up that way. It's a lot of work on you guys. And literacy? No. Because it also doesn't even have words, right? So it's strictly a scene. Now, some of the scene-based ones, when you touch it, the word pops up and it says it. So there would be some literacy there. But I foresee it being a jumping point, a stepping stone for little communicators, really, really young. All right? And that could be any kid, not just kids with disabilities, because they are not talking until they're, approaching a year. They're not really talking much at all. So you can expose them to a lot linguistically even before that. So, and they're on tablets, so sadly we can make it purposeful. All right. So then there's other ones that are the mid-level apps that have, like, how many of you have a GoTalk device at your disposal, the actual plastic device? Yeah. So we have the GoTalk app that is made to work just like that device is, but on an iPad. So if you were transitioning from your device to an iPad, it's a super nice stepping stone. And if we use GoTalk Plus, it has some pre-programmed language already there. Then you can customize from there. Okay? So GoTalk Now Plus is a mid-range. I'm going to show these to you. PEX 4. How many kids are actually using the PEX protocol? I want, I have, I see. Okay, we have a couple. Yep. That is taking their PEX book and making it digital on an iPad. And it looks like a PEX book, so I'll show you that one. And Sounding Board is free from AbleNet. It's a free, very basic augmentative communication app that you just put your own pictures in, you record your own voice, things like that. Okay, so let me show those 3 to you. They're kind of the mid-range. GoTalk Now Plus. All right, let's see what I have in here. And it's set up to only work in landscape, just a heads up. So, all right, I don't know that I have anything in mind, so hold on. Oh, I do. Okay, so this is a pre-programmed communication book from Plus. So what do you notice about it? Simple.
Different colors.
Different colors.
Folders.
Folders, yeah. What about those words at the top?
Core.
Core, yeah. Okay, so just looking at this page alone the way it is, generating language? Yep. Literacy?
Yeah.
Not to, when I say literacy, I mean access to being able to type. So, not based on what it says. Could you set it up to have a keyboard or letters? You could. It's not really meant for that purpose. And I want to check the mealtime page and just see what's
Go to mealtime page.
Oh, that was loud. Okay, are you going to go? Oh, good. All right. Is there access to quick conversation that we see? Doesn't look like it except for something like thank you. Could you make a page of quick conversation? Sure. There's no reason you couldn't, but you'd be creating it. When GoTalk Now first came out, it was you creating the whole thing. You were programming everything in. It was blank. It was like a blank slate. You took your GoTalk device, you made all the pages, and you put them on the device. Okay? And if you look next to the title, there's a little jumping guy. You can see all the pages that are available. You can also with those pages so the kid can scroll through and see what they are. And you can swipe through the pages too. So you can swipe or go to it with the jumping guy or page numbers on the bottom. So they give you a bunch of options for access. This is switch accessible. Your kids using switches, this is switch accessible. So that's a feature that's kind of important for some. But it's, and when you're programming it, how many of you use the GoTalk Now app? All right, there's a trick to getting into the programming. So normally you're in player mode. You have to take 3 fingers and swipe down the screen to get into programming mode. Tricky. Or you can hold the home button for 8 seconds. But you have to know how to get into that in order to do anything with it. And then once you're done doing anything, you go into player. But if I go into page editor on mine, on the bottom left, and it's really hard to see, you have sliders available that tell you how many buttons you can have on a screen, from 1 to 36 buttons. So just like the GoTalk device, we have devices that have 4, 9, 16, and 25, and 36 on a device. We have all of those devices. So if you had a GoTalk Express 36 or 32, I think it is, you could use the 36. And it would transfer it doesn't transfer automatically, but you could take what's on there and put it on here, and it's not so hard. Pretty easy to program, pretty easy to make it do things. You can make a button play a video. So if you're using video modeling, you can do that. That's kind of a cool feature. Where would I find the features of this device? Yeah, settings. Every single app you are in, app, game, whatever, has settings that you can change to act usually the way you want it to. So you say, oh, I just wish it would do this. You go into settings and see if it's an option, because there are a ton of them. Look at all the options you have in GoTalk Now. And it's a relatively simple app, but you have a ton of options, okay? Most of the time you can change the way it looks, the size of the buttons, what the buttons do. They have actions. Like I said, when you have it play a video, it'll jump to the video, play it, and jump back. You can tell it to do that. So buttons can have different actions. On this one, probably about 6 down, it says home button action, go to the first page. So if you hit the home button, it jumps to the first page because you told it to, or the program told it to. These are all the defaults. But you have button settings, you have player settings, you have accessibility settings. So there's switch settings, things like that. So voice settings. What about voices? Tell me about voices, the actual voice choices.
You want to pick one that's not going to be jarringly unrealistic for the person speaking.
Correct. So you want to pick one that's close to the kid. So they used to have and some still do, have a general kid's voice, a man and a woman. Very few apps are only doing those three anymore. There are so many voices available. And this is just an aside. If you know someone that has ALS, or if you ever hear of anyone with ALS being diagnosed, you can bank their voice. So when they lose their voice, they can still have access to their voice via augmented communication. Coolest feature ever. So basically, while they still have a voice, they can train it, send it off. It can become a package, and you can use it on your phone as a voice. It's expensive, but there's GoFundMes and things like that. So, and there's families that would support that. But someone going through ALS, it's a horrific disease, and they lose their voice somewhere along the way. Brain is still fine, can do nothing. So it's really frustrating, and most of them communicate with their eyes using a pretty high-tech eye gaze system. And if they have also their voice on it, they can speak as themselves and not as some computer voice. Okay, the voices are getting pretty good, but it would be still best to have your own versus something else. I went to go ahead and try to bank my own, and they said, "Are you someone with a disability?" Because I learned about it. I'm like, "Oh, I want to do it." And they said, we're reserving it for them right now because it was so new. I'm like, fair enough. But you can have it packaged to be on your iOS device, on your communication device, on your Windows computer. It can be the voice, and you're just paying for that package. So I think in most cases it's low cost or free to record your voice. It's just whatever platform you want it in, you're paying for that. So it's like $1,000 to $2,500 per package. So, and sometimes I think they lump them together, and that may have changed in the last 2 years because it's been around for about that long. Such a cool feature to have, but also think about it because ALS is fatal. So after the person passes away, you still have their voice, and you can hear it. So if you've ever lost somebody, you know how important that is. So it's kind of a really neat feature that they have now. So the thing about ALS is if you want it to happen, you need to do it pretty soon after a diagnosis because sometimes it takes a nosedive pretty quickly. So they're also starting to make voices for kids that can vocalize but not verbalize. So it'll take the tone of your voice and the sounds that you make and put a voice together. So that's in the process of being developed based on the other one. So it's pretty fascinating, but it's coming. So if you have a kid, we have one student, his verbalization is ba, 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 and he has some other like vowels that he can make, and they could likely put together a voice. If he gets a few more, you have to have some vocalizations, but it doesn't have to be completely verbal for them to get a voice for you with your vocal tone. So very cool technologies coming out. And it goes along with the trends, being portable, being more personal, things like that. So, all right, that is a mid-range Go Talk Now. You can customize it, or you can use what they use pre-programmed. Either way, lots of different features. Okay, questions about that one? I'm going to go into PEX. PEX 4. It's PEX 4 because they expect you to be around phase 4 in PEX before you use it. But it looks like the PEX book. It's much more colorful on the iPad itself. It's kind of muted up there, but it's much more colorful. You have your tabs at the bottom. You can put pictures on the tabs with the labels. It has sentence starters at the top. So if I tap on the top, I have I want and I don't want. Then I would add I have and I see, the way PEX goes, if you've been trained. So I can go down to I want.
Code.
And then I can speak it on the bottom right.
I want code.
In the PEX protocol, what's missing in this one? The exchange. So if they truly need that exchange, this isn't your answer. If they need to reach out to somebody and communicate with them, you're going to stick with the actual PEX protocol and have them rip off the sentence structure and hand it to someone. But this is a stepping stone to a long-term voice output device. Okay? You can change the size of the pictures. You can change the photos versus icons. Any of these, pretty much, you can use a photo and not the icons they give you. And I say that's important because when I show you sounding board, you're going to go, oh, okay. The pictures are lousy. This is pretty good. It's a lot of pre-programmed things, too. Super easy to program. So if you're looking for that stepping stone from PEX into a bigger app and you're not quite ready for something major, I have only used this with kids maybe 3 times ever because usually they're ready and you're modeling anyway, so they can learn the symbols set for something other than that. Is this generative? Are you generating language?
Yes.
Yeah. Access to literacy?
Yeah. Well, with the words
Spelling?
on it.
Access to spelling?
No.
No, but could you set up a keyboard? Sure. You could put letters in there, a page of letters, and they could spell that way if you wanted to, but that's not really part of the PEC's communication system. And what about phrases? I'm going to say no because that's not the intent of PECs. So the intent is generative language. So, but just to show you, that's a nice mid-range. It's a nice stepping stone. And it is PECs. It is the PEC system digitally. So some parents are, the kids are okay with not handing necessarily. If the kids are okay with not needing to hand something, and the parent wants to move digital, it is okay to move digital and not carry the book around. When the books get really fat, they get fat and cumbersome. Would you keep that book around anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Backups. You have to have a backup. So that's automatically your backup when you're moving this way. So you just keep it around for backup if you need it. Okay, that's PECs. Sounding board, free. It's free. Anybody can have this. So it comes with some pre-loaded boards, which are down here. It has clarification, control, emergency help, entertainment, expressions, leisure, entertainment, money, and my emergency information. My emergency information.
My home address is 2418 Fairview Avenue North, Roseville, Minnesota, 55113.
Okay, my medications, my phone number, my name. Does it get the message across? Sure. If you need, so in a pinch, if somebody needed that on their phone, you can add it on their phone today. It's free. It's already included this way, and you would just have to add the actual address in there. But it says my address is, and then you would just re-record that person's address. It's just recorded voice, so it's whoever's speaking. What's important when you're using a device or an app that uses recorded speech? Speed or appropriateness of the age for the voice? Depends on the day. I'm just going to say that. If you need a message really quickly, you programming it and putting your voice in it is not a big deal. But ultimately, in the long run, we want a voice that's similar to that person. So my own children, I have a boy and a girl, and they used to program devices for me all the time when they were little because I was working in elementary school. So rather than have an old lady's voice, they had a young boy or a young girl. I just had it easy because they were in my house, and the devices were mid-tech devices, so they were just, they were like 6, 7, 8 years old at the time, through the rest of their lives. Mom again. But it was nice to have that little voice, and again, I had their voices around for a while, so that was kind of fun. They're little kid voices, so that was fun. But you can use an average peer of that kid. You have those super articulate, super helpful kids. They like to be that voice. It should not be a brother, sister, close friend, because they have their voice. They shouldn't sound like their friend. They should sound like somebody that they don't really know. You know what I mean? So it should be their voice, not my friend's voice or my mom's voice. Questions about that? So their pictures are pretty lousy, but this is not my favorite communication board, but I like the pictures on it. So I did this one. It's just choices. So I'm not a big fan of just choices, but I wanted to show you how the pictures come through. And it is clearer on the iPad too. But I just pulled these off Google Images, saved them to my photo library on the iPad, and then added them in to Sounding Board. The more pictures you add, you can keep adding pictures to a board, and they just get smaller and smaller. Okay, so that's sort of how this works. There's major limitations because it is free, but and like the pictures are pretty lame. Haha.
I can't find my mom. This is what she looks like.
Okay, but you could feasibly use that for a kid, right? If they had, iPod on them and they had a sounding board on it, and they're out and about, that could be a really important picture for them. This is my mom. This is what she looks like. This is her number, so that they can call. Okay. Also, I have a little soapbox I get on sometimes, but if you're teaching kids phone numbers, teach them the primary parent's cell phone number. Do not teach the house phone. Okay? If any of you are old school, we always taught home address, phone number, home address, phone number, home address, phone number. Mom has her phone on her all the time. She's not at home all the time, and we don't even check our home phone, ever. We still have it. We don't check it. I think it has 35 messages on it the last time I looked. They're all telemarketers, and people offering these speech jobs. But I know you all get those too. That's why we still have the home phone number. Teach them mom's cell phone number, so that they can say my mom's number is blah, blah, blah. Or their dad's. I don't want to discriminate, but whoever's the parent that's around the most that you have the most communication with. Okay? Or if they're with mom and dad, teach them both phone numbers. It's super important to do that. Okay. So their pictures are pretty lousy, but the concept is really nice, and the fact that it's free is phenomenal. So anybody can have access to it. Okay. Those are the middle range ones. They're the main ones. Then we have the super high-tech ones. I want to talk about features of the different ones. The primary ones we use that allow for language growth. And it's so hard to think beyond preschool when you are working in preschool. It's hard to think of them as teenagers. I see those teenagers, and I see what those teenagers might be missing. So it's kind of fun to get a different perspective once in a while. And if you actually get to talk to some of the transition kids that are here, they're not big talkers, and hopefully they have their devices, but if you get to hear the conversation, that's what you're building for. So you guys are the major first stepping stone of that. It's so important that we start building their language early. So the high-tech apps that we look at ones that can grow with the kids. We look at ones that can offer language, literacy, and conversation, all three, and that can grow from young to old with them. Because if you pick, a really good one, it can go with them for a very, very long time, and you don't have to switch them up. It's kind of like switching languages no matter where you are. Now, when you go from app to app, it's not as hard, except for the motor planning piece, learning where things are. But we don't want to keep switching them. Once they have the motor plan down, we should just be able to let them grow. That said, it is also super important. I know in preschool we work with big, colorful pictures, a few pictures at a time. What we want to do in their apps is concentrate on the smallest picture they can handle motorically and visually. And I mean just, can they see it at all? Not can they identify apple, identify pear. I'm not checking identification. What's the smallest picture they can see and touch? And we're going to go with that size for their app. And so it looks like a whole bunch of things on a page, but then you hide things. So it gives room to grow. So if you have food and toys, and that's all you're using, that's all you see on the screen. And they might be little, and they might be spread out like this, but eventually you're gonna open up like weather and drinks and other things that are on there, and those two that you started with are still in the same spot. If you start with 12 on a page, and then want to go to 24 on a page, and then want to go to 96 on a page, what happens? Everything moves. It moves. So now they have to learn all over again how to say the basic things they've been saying since they were 3. Now I have to figure out how to say that again. It's frustrating. I've actually seen kids wing it across the room. It's not a good thing. So because they're frustrated. And there's ways to gently introduce because sometimes you do need to change them to a different layout. So there's nice ways to introduce that. That said, if we can start them up front with the smallest picture they can handle and then a few on a page at a time, that's a much better way to go than 12 pictures on a page and big pictures. Does that make sense? Okay, because you saw that core board that you were able to use to say all of those things. Now again, that's probably not the core board that I'd be likely to use on a regular basis, and some of these are. I use the main core board for most of these other 3 that I'm going to show you, but it's still core language, and you have access to that, and you can generate some things. So we want them to have access to that. All 3 of these that I'm going to show you, well, actually quickly show you Communicator, but we don't use it because it doesn't grow well enough to kids, so we don't use it enough. There's reasons to use all of them. I mean, you can make a case for using all of them. But the ones we primarily focus on are the top 3. Proloquo to Go, Snap Plus Core First, and Touch Chat HD. with word power. Those are the three main ones. Every one of those is so customizable. You can start with a few pictures. You can start with basic language and then build and build and build. You can have access to conversation language and literacy. You can have the regular keyboard and not an ABC board, or you can have both. You can color code on all three of them. You can, they do go from very low level to very high level communication. So if you did feel the need to start with 12 on a page, you can start with 12 on a page. I'm just warning you about the motor planning piece. If they can handle a smaller picture, go with the smaller picture. That's also when you are feeling out apps for kids, we want them to wait a minute, let me think where I was just going with that. Shoot, I totally just lost my thought. But we definitely want them to have access to as much language as they can and grow it. So, and when I say grow it, we're talking about expanding utterance length and quality, right? Quality and length of utterance, which is what you guys do. We just are doing it electronically because some of the kids are non or low verbal. So we're going to give them what they're able to. If they're not able to say it, they should still be able to communicate it linguistically. Hold on one second. All right, so let me show you these, and then we're going to do one activity and then Clicker Communicator. I like the pictures. It does a lot of different things. Okay. All right. So what do you see? Core, right? So it does core. You have language generation. Have a keyboard. It's a QWERTY keyboard. You know what else it has that I do like about this? I like a lot about this, but what else does it have?
It's got
Predictive
pronouns.
text. It has what?
It's got all the pronouns.
It has a pronoun. Well, they're starting because those are the sentence starters. But if I touch I, isn't that cool? Now I want to say the word want. So if I type W, it's predictive text, like on your phone, but with pictures. That's kind of a really cool thing. All right. So if you're typing in early literacy, this is really a nice feature to have. The other ones have it too. Not all of them, but some of the other ones have it too. So that might be a reason to lean one toward the other. So it has the language, it has the literacy, and chat has some phrases. It checks all the boxes. So is this a nice app to use for kids?
Which app is this?
This is called Clicker Communicator. It's a lovely app. It's great. I'm going to show you some other ones too. If they all have the same features, what are some of the other things we might look at? If they all have the same exact features based on what I just said. Go ahead.
Honestly, as much as we don't like to say it, cost.
Cost. Yeah, and cost isn't really a factor, most of the time. It shouldn't be a factor. It shouldn't be a consideration. But if you are looking at two and they're exactly the same, and one is $100 less, it's not rocket science. If they are the same. What's another thing we might consider? Go ahead.
Iconicity of the symbols used.
The symbols used, maybe. But the other thing about that is you are modeling. You're teaching them. So it's kind of like when you teach the ABCs. They don't know B yet, but you teach them this is B. You teach them this is 1. And you're modeling it in a setting. So that's what I was going to say when I lost my train of thought. Don't ever drill pictures for kids for communication. So don't give them a page and say, touch apple, touch candy, to make sure they know what the picture is before you use it. They don't have to identify pictures. You are going to go in and say, we have apples and we have pretzels for snack today. Which one do you want? Do you want an apple or a pretzel? You didn't say touch apple. You said, are we having apples or pretzels? You're modeling for them. Okay? This means apples. This means pretzels. If you want apples, touch this. I'm not saying you say all this. If you want apples, say this. If you want pretzels, say this. Okay? You're modeling it for them, using it in a functional situation. That's how you should be teaching communication. Don't ever just do picture ID because A, they don't care about matching pictures to objects, and B, it doesn't make any sense to them. Just because I can touch apple, I don't know how to use that now that I want an apple. Use it when you're doing it. So we're doing an activity. touch this and say, we're doing this, we're going to eat apples, it's fall, and you're using the device in those functional settings, okay? So yes, sometimes icons make a difference, but sometimes they used to use bliss symbols. You know what they are? They're awful. But this one means this, and this one means this, and this one means this. They did learn that symbol setting.
Did you mention cost? What is the funding source for these devices?
Their school district or insurance. Okay. Some parents go and buy it because they have an iPad and all that stuff, but the meeting I was in today, the mom has their own backup iPad with touch chat on it already, and there was discussion about, do we go pro loco to go, do we stay touch chat, like go back and forth about it, and she says, well, if we go pro loco to go, how am I going to get that on my home iPad? The district does not care, actually, if they have it on a home iPad, because they're providing it, they're responsible to provide it, they're not responsible to provide that backup to that mom. That was the mom's choice to buy it, so it would be the mom's choice to buy it, if she wanted to have that backup. But if it broke and the school needed to provide a backup, they would. They would just do that for them. So, but it's $250, $300. So, they all go on sale in October, by the way. Usually 50% off, just a little heads up. You might want to give other people a heads up about that. Okay. So what are some other considerations, though? If they're the same, you're weighing one against the other.
The number of icons that can be accessible.
They all can be. Like we're saying, all that's the same. On the kid end, everything is the same.
What device does he get loaded on?
Yep. So we're going iPad.
Well, does it have to be iPad or Kindle tablet or?
Okay, so platform maybe, if it's possible to load it on another platform. If they're equal with all the other features, and the parents have a Samsung tablet and might want to buy it, pick the one that goes on different platforms. So that would be Snap Plus Core first, because that works on any platform. Kind of cool. Or Cough Drop is web-based, so you have an account and you access it that way. Okay. I also look at ease of use, ease of programming, ease of backing up. On the management end, how many of you have had a device that's really difficult to program? Yeah, some of them are. Some of the apps are a little confusing. How many of you have had apps that are generally easy to program? Oh, yes, they are. Once you learn how to add a picture, it's not a big deal. It's sort of like your phone. If you're doing things with your phone, it's not all that different. You have a picture, you put a word to it. It's not that hard. So some are much easier than the others. Backing up. Some things are easier than others. Now, Proloco to Go this week added AirDrop for pages, so you can AirDrop a page to one another. So that's kind of a cool feature. Touch Chat allowed you to AirDrop last year. You could AirDrop to that one. So I look at those, and familiarity I look at too. So if I was going between a dedicated device, say, and an iPad with an app, and the parent owns devices, and they're familiar with them, I lean that way. Unless the kid needs special access of some kind. If they need switch access, or there's reasons to go with other devices.
In the past, my understanding was insurance wouldn't cover unless it was a dedicated device.
Right, and now there are now dedicated iPad devices. So
okay, so you can.
ACCI, AbleNet, Tobii Dynavox, they all have iPad-based communication devices. They just call them something else. It's a package that you buy.
Okay.
So, and insurance will cover that.
Parents may unlock them for a fee.
Yep.
They can update them and such, but they are a dedicated, specific device to that particular speech generating.
And it's iPad-based. So, that's been around for about 3 years now-ish. So, and that was the case before. You're right. So they would always go dedicated. Dedicated devices. If the features on an iPad with an app are perfectly fine for the student, go that route, because school districts have them. They can replace them. They can get backups. We can give backups. If there's a reason you need to go dedicated, like switch access, or don't go with icon symbol set. Some people will insist on PCS symbols. It's unnecessary. I've never once encountered a kid that could not learn through modeling, this means apple, this means jump. So we once in a while get values from outside that say you must have PCS symbols, you must have this, when they haven't been ingrained in a symbol set yet. It's unnecessary. So it's been my experience, and I was an SLP with devices forever, for a really long time before I did this. So I've never once encountered a kid that could not attain that symbol set, symbol sticks. I mean, bliss symbols and Frankie Romick, the first thing that the lamp words for life one that we went through, maybe a little rough because they're abstract, but most of these are very concrete. And the only thing would be if, let's say it's a student with autism and the want freaks them out because it's only hands. That might be a reason to consider something else. But, all right, so let me go quickly through those first three and show you what the features are and your options. But I will say, I almost, and it's ad nauseum, I almost always lean toward Proloquo to go. My reason is, it does have its downsides. One or two downsides. It is the most customizable. It's the most adaptable. It's you can access it through switches. It is easy to back up. Lots of people know it. A lot of schools use it already. So if you're considering between something the schools use and something they don't, or if you have a kid transitioning and you're not sure which app to go with, find out what the school district uses, because it's helpful to the teachers. It's just helpful because if you have two iPads with Proloquo to go, or you have one with Proloquo to go and one with Touch Chat, you have to know the insides and outs of two apps instead of one. And if you had a choice in that does not mean switch everybody to Proloquo to go, but it does mean if you're starting out, this is a very versatile app that keeps trying to keep up with everybody based on, if you could do this, we wish it could do this, things like that. They make changes all the time. They just made 3 changes this week.
Version 6 came out this week. Don't update it unless every single one in your classroom is being updated.
Because if you back it up onto your device, you can't then put it back on their device unless their device has 6 on it. Does that make sense? They have to be the same version. You can't do a more advanced version on your iPad and then try to put it back on their device. So you have to be the same. Ran into that yesterday, personally. What was I going with that? So Proloquo to go. If you set up a new user in Proloquo to go, I have a few users on my Proloquo to go. So if you're creating a new user for a student, I'm going to create it for Johnny. I can spell. It's going to take you through a series of questions to set up the device for the student. So here's some of your options. Most of the time I go next, 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 next. But English, yeah. Pick the voice. It sort of describes the voices there. You can hear them.
Hello, my name is Josh.
Ella?
I am one of the Child American English Speech Synthesis voices from...
Hello, my name is Ella.
So
I'm one of the Child American...
Yeah. The only time Ella sounds weird is when she says hello. Why they leave it that way, but that's not her voice. Hello, I'm Ella. I don't know why that is. All right. So annoying, but it's usually... Oh, I left him as Ella, didn't I? That's nice.
Hello, my name is Josh.
Josh. And if you have Hispanic kids, they have Emilio and Valeria that have the Spanish accent. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to say Johnny's Hispanic, actually. Can I do what? Hip hop. I can't remember how
My name is Emilio.
Hi, I'm Saul, the hip-hop speech synthesis voice from Acapella. Efficient, fast enough.
Hello, my name is
He
Emilio.
has some colorful things to
I'm
say.
one of the Child...
He does. Actually, that Saul, they have some teenager language in Proloquo to go for teenage expressions. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's street communication in here too. All right, so you picked the voice. I picked Emilio. And Emilio speaks both Spanish and English, so we're going to use his voice for that. Crescendo is the standard vocab for Proloquo to go. Choose it. Don't choose Gateway unless there's a reason. We don't have access to buying it because it's an add-on. We don't have an access to that. We have access to try it in a different app if you really need Gateway, but I don't know why people would need it over other things. So it's the old Dynavox layout, the very old Dynavox layout. But we have it that you can try and take a look at, but not in Proloquo to go. So crescendo, it's just next. But here's where we go. This is what I would like you to do. Unless you have a very, very, very basic communicator, like really basic, like MDS, hardly saying any words at all, hardly having any language at all, go intermediate. Because they have access to all the foods and all the vocabulary. Like, it's foods where I really notice it. I hate to say this, but you know there's those communicators that aren't going to get past simple sentences, maybe ever. They might be the basic guys, and then you can add some of those other folders in. But most of my kids, I would say 85 to 90% of the kids in Perla Quota Go are on intermediate, and then we tweak it so it's more basic.
So like, let's say you hit basic communication because that's where the child's at now, and then come 5 years old, they're flourishing. Could you change it to intermediate?
You can't just change it, but you can give them a new user area and introduce it. But yes, that's like changing apps almost, but they're familiar with the symbol set and all that. So yes, you can do it. I do it somewhat frequently because kids do blossom sometimes. You're like, holy cow, listen to them go. Now we need to give them a lot more words. Yeah, it's fine. It's a stepping stone that you may be able to avoid, but if you think that they're like, and I truly mean the ones that don't understand or express more than a word or two, they would be basic communicators. But most kids are at the intermediate level or can be. So, and the advanced is truly adults or kids with typical cognition that can't speak. All right, so I chose intermediate. Choose orientation, landscape, portrait, landscape, portrait. Most of the time it's landscape. It's just easier to see the whole picture, but not always. All right, this is asking you your grid size. Okay, how many pictures on a page? And it gives you the choices. It asks you orientation first because they adjust the grid size according to the orientation. So I want as many pictures on the page as I can handle. Now let's look at this for a second. They're squarish and the pictures are big. I kind of like that. And they keep them squarish even when you increase. That didn't used to be the case. They used to stretch them out really skinny and the picture was really small. Now it's pretty normal. With preschool to elementary kids, I tend to go 32 to 60, somewhere in that range. That does not mean there's 60 buttons on every page. It just means they have access to 60 buttons at a time. So 45 if they can handle that size, 32 if they can't. Okay? Motorically handle that size. Can they touch it? Can they see it? Things like that. All right, I'm going to go with 45 for this example. It allows them to say more without changing pages. Okay? It allows them to say more without changing pages, and it looks like I stayed in basic, so bear with me. Oh, that was basic, though. You want to see it? Here's basic. You have I want, I like, and I don't like are your core words on the left. Then you have a bunch of category pages. Okay? That's basic with 18 buttons. Basic with 32 buttons has a few more core things on the left-hand side and then a lot of categories. Okay? So if you think about saying, I want to drink, I want to sleep, you need to go to a bunch of different pages to get there when you have a lot of folders. Okay? So, but basic communicators are also sometimes set up with, for my food. Is there not food on here? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not letting me do it for now. Yeah, because I'm not done yet. All right, so I'm going to go back to intermediate for now because that's really what I want to show you. Changing him to intermediate and 45 on a page. It goes up to 112, 120, let's see, 144. 144. Think of all the things you could say on that page if you can handle that. Do you need to know what they all are now? No, but could you learn where they all are? Had a person communicate with a old school. Do you remember the Alpha Talkers? Okay, so it was static overlays. Well, there was one with 128. It was a Delta Talker. He communicated it with it like on a shoulder strap down to the side with no pictures on it, just like a keyboard. Motor memory. It's all motor memory. So in that one, you had to remember all the icon combinations anyway, so it didn't matter if he was looking or not. So fascinating, but it's all motor memory. So once I knew where don't like and want and everything else are, this would not be that hard to communicate with. In the meantime, we're going to go with something that's a little bit more reasonable. 45 gives you enough words, but not too many words. And 32 is another okay one. But if you think about the things that you're adding in, you want to have room, real estate to add things. So the more you have on a page, the more room you have to add things. All right. So I'm going 45 for now. It's a really nice middle range, and they're not all going to be showing. Okay, I said Johnny speaks Spanish also, right? Or his family does. Include additional language. I'm going to turn on, because now it will include his language. And which language do you want to add? Spanish, Dutch, or French? Okay, so you have some choices. And which Spanish voice do you want? Emilio?
Hola, soy.
Okay, soy Emilio. Yeah. And finish. So that's the setup for Johnny. And look what it looks like. You're usually faster than this. Come on. Okay. So this is Johnny's setup the way Proloquo to Go comes. Tell me some things that you notice about it right off the bat.
It's very busy.
It's busy, yep. Why does it look so busy? There's a lot of icons, right?
The colors don't exactly stand out.
It's white. White. So, yeah. Okay. What else do you notice?
It's not immediately, like, I can tell which ones open up a new page, I think, but it's not blatant.
Right, it's hard to discriminate between them. Okay, so what can we change about that? Well, in most apps, you can change the way it looks. So I'm going to go into settings on the bottom right. Go to the main settings page. And under Johnny's options, we have appearance, vocabulary, speech and language, grammar, and prediction. Okay, you can change all of those things. So think about what it is that you want to change. Like if it's a pronunciation, that would be under speech and language. If it was things showing, I'm going to show you. Under vocabulary, actually, I'm going to show this to you. They have this thing called progressive language in Proloquo to Go. So I'm going to go to that, and then I'm going to turn it on. And look what happens to the home page when I go to step 1 of progressive language. It hid half of the core words or more and kept the important ones. Okay? So I'm going to leave it on progressive language. And now we're going to change some of the appearance things to make it do what we want it to do and look the way we want it to look. So, I have a kind of a standard setup that I use that's worked really nicely. What I do, personally, is color code it according to the Fitzgerald key. I change the size of the window at the top and make it smaller, so it gives more space to the page. And I make the toolbars bigger, so the kids don't have to access that tiny little button at the bottom. All right, so the way to do that, I have a little video. I don't know if it's up yet, but I have a video on how to do the Julie setup if you wanted to, or parts of the Julie setup if you wanted to. In the top section, message window size, I make very small, which isn't all that small. Then under the next section down, toolbars, I do toolbar size medium. That toolbar size can get really big. So you can look at the home, where it says home at the top. I'm going to make it very large. See how big it gets? And all the tools at the bottom get very big. Medium's usually acceptable. Then, this is my other favorite thing that I do. I find for boys and girls, I change the background color from gray to another color that's a little more exciting under view in the next section. View and advanced options. See where it says background color? See how it pops? I made it navy blue, but you can't really see that. Okay, navy blue or dark purple are the two that I like to use because it makes the vocab pop. All right, it really makes those words pop out. So I think that's kind of nice to change that background. We have a boy, so I'm going to make it blue. Or you can ask them what their favorite color is. I found red to be a little shocking, but other than that. All right, and then color coding. You can do this in Proloquo to Go by going down to the buttons and the color coding scheme. It's called Fitzgerald key. So it did change all the borders to the Fitzgerald Key coloring, but now we're going to tell it what to color. So we want it to color the backgrounds too. Background, color code, not just fringe only, but everything. All. And it did color code them, but I like it to stand out a little bit more than that. So I go from bleach to light or pale. See, I'll do it in pale right now. I usually use light because on the iPad it looks better, but on the screen. See how it's different now? Isn't that so much better? The other thing I changed is right now you can't really tell, but all of the folders are gray. They're not white. So if I go into the buttons in advanced, I can turn off folder buttons, color coding, and they become white again. So I kind of like that. It just gives you that pop a little bit better. All right. So that's appearance-wise. So much different, right? And all we did was change appearance. So now, can you tell where the folders are? Yeah, right? And even if we weren't in progressive language, let me take that progressive language off so you can actually see what that looks like. Vocab. Progressive language. So see how that looks? So now part speech, the colors are a little off from the iPad, but yeah, so it's a little bit easier to go through that page and not be this sea of white. All right, and then when you go into a page such as food, it's color-coded for verbs and nouns and people and things like that. So it is color-coded already. And the second page has your categories of foods on it, which is why I like intermediate. Basic has none of this page. And kids know their foods, right? Condiments even. Condiments are in there. I want ketchup and horseradish. They have sushi. They have, sometimes your family goes out for sushi. And they can say, I don't like sushi, or they can say, want sushi, All right. So progressive language, this is step one. This is step one. Watch what happens to the core when I go to step two. It opens up a few more. Step 3 opens a few more. And then step 4 opens all of them.
And that only changes the core, not anything else.
Right, but it changes the core on every page.
Okay.
So I think it does. Let me just check on the food page. I'm pretty sure. Yep, it just changes core.
Okay.
Yep. So, but if there was a word that's hidden that you just wanted one of the words and not the rest of the words in that level, you can just unhide a word at a time in Perlocortico. All right. So this is a nice setup for kids that and Perlocortico, so awesome. Under the bottom left is the search feature, so you can look up where to say eat, like how do I say this, how do I say that, and it will take you through it. These are the many ways to say eat. So if I touch this bottom one and I go from eat to actions, more, body, eat.
Eat.
Okay, but there's other ways to say eat, and it showed us all those ways that you can say eat. That's just for your knowledge. So you can look up and say, oh, here's how you say eat. Here's where. And the top is usually the simplest one. So I'll show you the most basic way. This is the one thing, and I know Joanne wanted me to point this out, one thing I hate about Perlocortico. So these are the basic verbs, and I love that, but on page 2, look how they organize their verbs. Who does that? Who talks about body verbs and having verbs? Like, to find a verb, a having verb, buy, get, give, grab. That's the dumbest way to organize verbs I've ever seen. So, and I think I might tell them that when we're closing. Oh my God. But the good thing is if you have anybody with any literacy skills at all, like what does jump start with? And they can say J. You can go to the A to Z verbs and go to J, and jump is in there. So you can start teaching them some literacy skills that way. And that's kind of a fun way around that. It's the only little thing I don't like about Perlocortico, but it's weird. It's just weird. So I tend to teach them the A to Z verbs instead of the feeling verbs and the body verbs and things like that. It's so bizarre. And the other thing that it does, Emilio speaks Spanish, right? This is so cool. Look at this. If I go down here and I go to language, it's going to change everything to Spanish. And it speaks it in Spanish.
Ir. Hacer. ¿Qué? Emocionado.
Isn't that adorable?
They're all in all the same spot.
Yes, except customized. So when you add family members, you have to add them to both and in Spanish and English. I believe that's still the case. It may not be the case, but
It is. And also, you will know for motor planning, they are in slightly different spots, and they claim that it does not matter for the student. We've had conversations.
and we will continue to.
And we will continue to have conversations with them.
But they have done a phenomenal job. We asked for the search button forever, and they finally got it last year. Now you can airdrop pages, thank God, from one kid to another. So if you create a page for an activity, you can send it to the kids with Polo. Yeah, so they're really doing a nice job.
Do you know if it conjugates the Spanish verbs? The conjugations are very different.
I want to say yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
They actually have a gentleman who is Spanish speaking, and so they have an amazing Facebook professional group as well as a parent group, and whenever you ask a question, he is the only person who answers on both sides. So he is the person who's answering those questions when you're asking, purposely when you're speaking about the alternate language, specifically when it comes to Spanish, because he is their expert. So if there's a question, you may have to wait even longer, maybe 3 to 5 hours, because they get back to you extremely fast. Typically, it's people like us answering questions as well, but he specifically, when to answer those questions, he's giving his professional opinion and support.
So it's
really
pretty
helped
terrific.
build this.
And to switch between the two of them is literally 2 hits. The bottom button and language, and now it's back to English. So it's been nice for families. Had a couple of Spanish-speaking families who would change it when it went home. The kid still has the same icons, it's just in the different languages. But the one family that insisted on it coming home in Spanish every time stopped changing it into Spanish because now the mom can learn English because she has picture support. It was great. So, and she was a really high maintenance parent for a long time, and all through preschool, sorry. But I got to her in kindergarten, and they had just come up with this switching thing. And so she did it probably for about 2 of the 4 months that we were trying it, and she said, no, we stopped changing it, and she's learning English, and it was a beautiful thing. So anyway, I digress. That's Proloquo to Go. It can do, act, say, any way you want it to. So that's why we lean toward it all the time. Not all the time, a lot of the time, because it can really grow with the kids, and it already includes a ton of academic vocabulary, which I know you guys don't think about that, but when they get to elementary school and middle school, they need that, and I'd rather not switch them from something to that or program in all that vocab.
So you're talking about that extra vocabulary. I actually have a girl who's about to be a teenager that I'm working with. Mom and I have been having those conversations of, she's about to be a teenager. She needs to be able to tell you all of these things that you didn't want your kid to have to tell you. Does this have the ability to get to some of those more adult conversations?
Yeah, and so in next week we're talking implementation. One of my favorite folders in any of these is the chat folder conversation folder. And in Proloquo to Go, they have the expressions. This is where Saul gets pretty colorful with the street slang and all that stuff. But they also have positive and negative folders at the bottom. And the negative one, it'll have things like, I hate that, don't you understand, leave me alone, and you can change those. One of the newest features from last week is you can record a voice now in Proloquo to Go. You can actually record a voice. So like I said, I think I said it last week, my daughter keeps going, are you kidding? It could say it like that instead of are you kidding? Like real flat. So, but the expressions page, or the expressions folder, has intonation with it. So it's not just reading the text to speech.
Your turn. Ha. Great. Hurry up. Uh-oh.
So if you type in uh-oh, it doesn't read it that way, but they have the expression recorded so that you can have some expressions.
Yeah. Hello. Thanks.
Okay, so there's that inflection there, which is kind of nice. On the second page,
I hate you. Shut up.
So you can get it into as so. Sherry, go ahead.
Kelsey helped me with one of my children, and she has no verbal language, but she took the test. And on her own found shut up.
Yep.
Over and over. So if she was speaking verbally, and, would she ever think about saying this? She goes, oh, she would never.
Oh, pretty sure she would.
But they're 3 older kids, so, so she has, it's still there. She doesn't do it anymore, but when she can.
Yeah.
She
And
does
thanks
it
for that.
with a reaction.
Yep. Well, and so what else might you add? Not take away, but add. So with a typical kid that says, shut up, what do you say? We don't say shut up, we say please be quiet. That should also have a please be quiet. Right next to shut up, because, that's what you want to say, that's what you should say. You know what I mean? So make your choice wisely. I don't want to, I hate you. We don't say I hate you. We say I don't like you, or I don't like that. Or I'm mad at you. Right, so give them the other things to say too. But in the negative section, because they're feeling angry, give them the right things to say. So, what does whatever say?
Whatever.
So, that's not, so we want to go, whatever. So that might be a spot where you'd want somebody to record it with attitude. Teenager attitude, whatever. So, so it does grow into that. And it has those phrases. You can change ads, you can customize however you want to. But chat is my all-time favorite area to work with because it's powerful. I like, I don't like, I want, I don't want.
Do you ever change the templates?
Sometimes, yeah. Okay. Not as often. It comes with the core templates, so everything stays in the same spot.
And it'd be more so as far as hiding things temporarily and then bringing them back.
Yes.
Like you would still do that.
Absolutely, yes. Hide things because, and Proloco to Go will tell, and the apps will tell you how to go about hiding things. If they're in a template, you just have to hide it somewhere else. You have to go to vocab and hide it.
And what about as far as moving things between pages? So having a certain button size, maybe something's on the second page. Would you support me moving it up to the first page?
Yep.
Or would you say,
yeah.
no, they should learn to get to the second page?
I'm glad you said that.
Line?
I'm glad you said that because on the people page, so on your people page, who would you personally have on your people page? Immediate family first, right? And then your ancillary friends, classmates, friends, things like that. So on your own personal page, this is what they have. So when I go to customize for a kid, I don't change that mom to their mom. I move all of those orangey ones to the second page so that you can still talk about somebody else's mom and dad. And it says their mom, Jenny mom, Jenny dad. And then, so I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'm going to show those other apps. But I'm going to move all of these to the second page, and then that frees up the clutter and the space for the ones that you want to put on those pages. Now, I tend not to move things that are in a template because for motor planning reasons, if you move it, it doesn't exist where it's supposed to be. Logically for language development. So doesn't mean you can't ever, but I tend to not move template items. So see, now you have family, friends, teachers, contacts, and then on the second page you have all your ancillary people, including characters and jobs, and if they are obsessed with TV characters, put them on the first page, right? If they're favorite things, just move those to the first page. Yeah, whatever's most important to them should be quickest for them. And then this is all this other stuff is fringe, right? Like sometimes you talk about somebody's grandmother, like Grandparents' Day, but do you need that to be on your front page? No, not unless it's your Nana, So, go ahead.
Sorry, stupid question. When you said you don't change anything that's a template, what do you mean by that?
So the template is all of the core words.
Oh, okay.
So they take up, if I go to edit this, see how it says, it's hard to see. Oh, because I'm on the home page. Let me do it on another page. I'll go on the food page. And if I go to change it, see all those green circles that say T?
Yeah.
That's the template of things that are hidden.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't add anything in those spaces because they're placeholders for growth and vocabulary.
Okay.
If you really did need to hide it or get rid of it to put something else there, you can, but you have to edit the whole template. So it is never in that spot anymore. Not just on this page, but not on any page.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So you're going to move it all together.
Okay.
Somewhere else. Either get rid of it, which you shouldn't, or move it somewhere else.
Okay.
All right. So enough of that. Proloco to Go. Just know that you can change it. Now you can record words, voices The backup is much easier than it used to be. But it's so versatile. And motor reasons, sometimes people will ask for key guards. A lot of times first we will change the appearance and separate the pictures a little bit. So you can do that. I wish they were farther apart. You can do that. It's the way it looks, so it's under appearance. And it is in button spacing. You can get them really far apart. Okay? Yeah, it shrinks them down because you're putting a bunch of space between them. But that would be a consideration. And today we were able to lessen that space because the kids doing better fine motor-wise. That doesn't move anything. Okay? By spacing them apart, it makes the picture smaller, but it doesn't move anything. So that's kind of important to know. They're normally very compact, as close together as they can be. You can get them very loose. And it helps with motor, miss hits, basically. But it's a nice way still to let them grow. Trish?
The progressive level, I can't find it on mine. Is it only on the...
Yes. It's level, it's 5 or beyond. Okay. So is the search feature and the language and all that stuff. Yeah. All right, let me show you the other two. We have about 10 minutes left. One of the activities I have in the PowerPoint that I didn't do and we're not going to do, but you can do this, and we'll talk about it next week. We may do it next week. Is downloading SonoFlex Lite. It's a free app. It's kind of a mid-range app. It's mid to high. It's one of my favorite vocabulary than most of the free apps do, and it has core and activity-based and access to literacy too. So it's a nice little thing. So we will take a look at it because it doesn't necessarily matter if it's better if you speak AAC in your classroom and they don't have to see that you have SonoFlex Lite on your phone, but they're using Proloquo to Go on theirs. It might be a little confusing to you, but if you're speaking on an AAC device and they are, you're kind of speaking the same language. You know what I mean? So it just gives you another option if you wanted to add it to your phone or to your personal iPad. It's a free app that you can add. So we might take a look at that. In the meantime, I'm going to show you the other two main ones that we tend to lean toward. Touch Chat, it's almost always between, let me get out of this. It's almost always between Touch Chat and Proloquo to Go. Snap Plus Core first came out last year, and there's so many things I love about it. But we've still been of the schools of Touch Chat versus Proloquo to Go, and there are pluses and minuses to both. So, but I am going to preface this by saying Touch Chat's been out for a long time. This is all my customized vocabulary. Here's where it starts. Okay, so they have My Core, Spelling, Vocab PC. Until you get down to Word Power, skip all those other ones because they are category-based. They're not going to grow with the kids. We have other mid-range apps for that. You don't need Touch Chat for it, okay? So most of the kids, the lowest level that the kids are on are, it's called Word Power 20 Simply. And normally it's all showing, and I have to get it unhidden. But there's normally 20 questions. This is all core, and then you have your categories at the top. Okay, that's the simplest. Now I'm going to show you the highest level of Word Power. Word Power. They also have Spanish, but you actually have to come out of the vocabulary and go into another vocabulary, so it's not that helpful. So you want to So you go from 20 to 108 on a page. What do you notice about this? Well, it's called Word Power. It's words, right? Some of the levels in between, we just put someone on a 42, or they're trying out a 42. The little guy today, they're going to try 42. But when you hit 42, you have two choices. You have 42 and 42 basic. So 42, a lot of words with a few pictures for actions and categories, right? But if you look at Word Power 42 basic, it is a little bit more basic and picture-based. I loved it. It's really nice. So a lot of it's more picture-based. Again, core language at the bottom, categories at the top, and all the way up on the top right is your typing and numbers. Okay, so you have conversation, language, literacy. What do you think a conversation one is?
How are you?
But I mean, where do you find it?
Where?
Social.
Social, right? Big call it social. There you go. Now, you can change icon size. You can't change, so it doesn't have a background color. So what you see is that they have color-coded. It seems generally, according to the Fitzgerald key in word power. In the other ones without word power, it's random color coding. But in word power, it is Fitzgerald key color coding already. You can do most everything. What we love, Joanne loves touch chat. I understand why. Because if you hit, let's just say I want to eat, and I'm going to just say eat. Look what happens.
Eat.
What did it do? It jumped right to the foods. So I said eat. I didn't have to then open food and go into food. Okay? Save some steps, teaches you some sentence structure. The breakdown is, because it's arranged this way, what's your inclination to start with? And actually, let me go back to the 20 simply because it's a better picture of that. That's the actual word power 20 simply. What's your inclination to start with? I want, right? I want. Where do kids start when they're developing language? Not with I want. They start with noun. So it's set up for you to teach sentence structure, but we should not be beginning with I want. Unless you're doing the PECS protocol and you're handing something and you're following the protocol. That's the only time you should start with I want. If I want to go into foods, go with groups and food and drink. What do you notice about the food and drink page?
Everything's mixed together. Like
It's
breakfast and lunch and dinner.
Yep. There's a bunch of foods, but you also have food groups at the top, so that's like the categories of food. What else? Say again.
The quantity.
The quantity's there, yeah.
The core words aren't there.
Core words are not there, really. So you're not saying a whole thing when you're in the food category. And that's what the mom was asking for today. Can we say a phrase like cookies please or juice please or I want juice in this page? You can set it up that way, but it's not, TouchChat is not set up to do that the way Proloquo to Go is. So that's one of the pluses of Proloquo to Go, but what this does is guide you through that sentence. So if I said, I want eat, it's going to jump to food, so you've already said your sentence. But then you have to go back to the beginning to say another whole sentence. Okay? We don't start with sentences. I'm going to go with food groups too, and there's all your breakfast, lunch, dinner, veggies, all that stuff. So they are there. You can't separate the pictures in TouchChat, but you can make them bigger, smaller, and you can change it page to page. You can in Proloquo to Go. Picture size. So if you want bigger on one page and smaller on another, it's okay to do that. Beyond the real strength to TouchChat is teaching that sentence structure, and it guides you through it. If you hit play, it jumps to toys. Actions, I'm going to go to play.
Play.
And it goes to my toys. So it is teaching phrases. It's teaching language without any assistance. Like it is your assistant to do that. What do you notice about the pictures? Great for preschoolers, right? They're perfect for preschoolers. What about for a middle schooler? Right? I personally, I always look at it the way, what would I want to use if I didn't have my voice? What would I use? It's not TouchChat, I can tell you. And there are ways to teach language development without having that predictive text. However, it is a nice feature. But just know that kids are not starting with the verb anyway. They don't start there. They start with a noun, then you do verb, then noun. So it's pretty tricky because they kind of lead you in that direction, and it does facilitate that. But I don't know. There's downsides too. But it is a nice program, and that predictive language is so nice. So it is good. It was better, a lot better than Proloquo to Go years ago because Proloquo to Go just used to be categories only. No core language, no color coding, none of that. So they've since stepped up their game huge. And I suspect, and you can make it do predictive. So you can go to eat and make it link to the food page. So you can make it act that way. Anyway, that's TouchChat. It's a nice app. It's especially nice. I know a lot of preschool groups that like it, but once those kids get to elementary school, especially upper elementary, everybody's like, because it does not have academic vocabulary, it doesn't have pictures that are not special ed-y looking pictures. So, it's hard. It's tricky because it is really nice looking for preschool. Last one I want to show you is the one I personally would use if I lost my voice today because it offers a lot of features. Now, this is a very busy version of it, and we have 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to show this to you quickly. What this does, Snap Plus Score first, is on the left side, you have your menu bar of all the areas that you can, all the types of language you can use. So the top one says back, right? The next one is core, so this is your basic core that you have access to. It's at every level. This is how it looks. So it's just fewer words at different levels. Then you have quick fires, which is your social stuff. And it's broken down into categories at the top. Greeting and social, personal needs, feelings. But they're phrases that you say. Feelings. I'm happy, I like it, are you okay? How do you feel? And this is where you can put in that teenagey, attitude. But quick fires is your conversation piece. Then we have topics, which I don't love about this. This is my least favorite part of this. And at the preschool level, this is why I don't like this. They have tons of activities, but within the activity, I want to build language within that activity, right? So if I look at art, look at the bubbles. All right, the bubbles. Blow big one, blow small one. I popped it, more bubbles. But these are the only phrases you can say. You can't say more bubbles. Ooh, look at that bubble. Unless somebody programmed in. Ooh, look at that bubble. You know what I mean? You have no flexibility of language. It's all phrase-based. Can you set it up to be an activity that has nouns in the middle and verbs and start to teach that sentence structure within an activity? Yeah, you can. But right now, this is the way it comes pre-programmed, and it comes with phrases only. I usually use the art one because it says need scissors. But if you drop the scissors, the only thing you can say about the scissors is need scissors. Unless you go back to your core, then you can say it. So I don't think this was the best organization, but that's my only drawback about this one. It has a keyboard, it's QWERTY layout, and it has the picture prediction at the top. And the dashboard, it also can work as a remote control. TouchChat can do this too. I believe Codigo maybe can do this too. But work as remotes and can work with TVs if you have the right setup for it. So, that said, this has a few other features that the other ones don't have. If you are between a couple apps, find out what the school district that they live in uses. It's really helpful to the receiving team. You guys only have them for 3 years. They have them for the next 12, 13, 14 years. So if we start building language that can really grow with them, keep that in mind when you're deciding. And then pare down what they're using so that you're not giving them 144 pictures at once. You're giving them 12, and then you're adding in as their language grows. Okay? So you're not overwhelming them with too much language, but you're giving opportunity for the language to grow without moving things around on them. Does that make sense? So I know it was this is only week 2 of 4, so we still have a lot of, so if you're overwhelmed now, I apologize, but you won't be in 2 weeks, okay? Or you'll be less overwhelmed in 2 weeks. And hopefully by the last week you'll be like, okay, I got it, or I know what I'm going to try, or I know what I want to try with this person. And next week we're talking about implementation. So if you're thinking of questions, start writing some of the questions down, whether student-specific or generic questions. Start thinking of some of those things so we can problem solve next week. We'll leave some time for some problem solving, okay? And maybe help each other out a little bit so you know what to say in your set meetings, because we do want those set meetings done by the end of October. So, but it shouldn't be, right now it's kind of a daunting task, but I hope by the end of the 4 weeks it's not a daunting task. It's just a little progress meeting where we come up with the plan. We know what we're going to try. Well, and we'll do it. You would have done it anyway if somebody else facilitated the meeting, so it's just a matter of knowing the process and learning it and be comfortable with it. It's not no work, but it shouldn't be this daunting task either. I do, how many? 100 and some set meetings a year. It's my job, among other things. But it gets easier with everyone you do. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It just has to be a plan in place that you're all on the same page with. And are moving forward with. So, and it's nice because everybody's on the same page then. Everybody knows what we're doing, so the kids can grow in their communication much better. So, okay, any questions? Okay, thanks you guys. Have a great weekend.